Hello everyone. It's time to tell you another story. So I have this friend, and he has a friend that he visits quite frequently. And his friend has a son, about 5, 6 years old. And he says, so when I visit this family and I go there quite frequently, this boy, lovely, happy boy, who comes to me and plays and jokes, and he's always happy whenever I visit him. And he visits them quite frequently. And he said, for the last couple of weeks, when I go and visit them, this boy suddenly just doesn't come to me anymore. And I asked his mother, well, where is he? He said, oh, he's probably in his room studying and playing with his games or whatever. So this went on for the last couple of weeks. He goes there quite frequently, he said. But he said, something's changed. This boy is such a happy, lovely boy. He comes to me all the time. He says, uncle, joyous, and plays with me all the time. And now suddenly he stopped coming to me. So we were talking, and he said, well, something doesn't seem right. So he said, well, I asked the mother, well, what has changed? What's happening here? Something doesn't seem right. So the mother said, well, he's doing his homework and he's growing up a little bit, and he's now doing Islamic studies. So he goes to this mosque or madrasa, the local mosque, to go and study. So my friend starts wondering, well, something isn't right. So as we were talking, we both have a similar sort of mindset to think about these things, and we can detect certain things. So I said, well, yeah, something just doesn't add up, does it? So I said, maybe you should start talking to him and see if you can get to the boy and start asking him questions. But talk to his father, that's for sure. Talk to his family, ask them, something doesn't seem right. Maybe you should just check things out. So he did. Next couple of weeks, he did actually start looking into it a bit more, and he still wasn't happy. So he told his father, he said, look, something just doesn't add up. He was so happy, joyous, until he started going to madrasa. What is going on? So he said to his father, look, you should speak to him in the most polite manner that you can, make him trust you, and start asking him questions. What's going on? What sort of things is he up to in the madrasa, at the mosque? And his father did that. He took a moment, spoke to his son, and he asked him, well, what sort of things are you getting up to? What's happening, this and that, and tries to get to the point in understanding whether somebody might be touching him. And eventually, the boy does actually start telling him things about how the teacher is touching him here and there in the wrong places. So my friend and his friend decide, well, what should we do about this? This is not right. Should we go to the police, etc.? So the boy's father, obviously, he's concerned about how much publicity this may bring, etc. So they first of all decide they're going to go to the mosque and ask the people responsible, the muazzim, who is the head teacher there. Okay. The muazzin takes them along, talks to them, and finds out the story, and then brings the teacher, and then they start asking him. And the muazzin asked various questions. I can't exactly say whether it was with while the parents were there or somewhere else, but eventually the teacher does admit that he was inappropriate and he did touch the boy. My friend, very angry at what was happening at that point, he decides, well, we're going to have to call the police. He picks up his phone and his father stops him. His muazzin stops him. This muazzin is apparently a lawyer, by the way. So they stop him and say, no, this isn't right. This teacher, he's got 2 children, and you've got to think about your child as well, and this mosque, what will happen here with all this publicity, this isn't right. So, my friend just spoke to his friend and tried to figure out what's the best way forward, because he can't just, force his way. He wanted to call the police, but he didn't. So the best that they come up with is to tell this teacher, you cannot teach here anymore. And you cannot be teaching in any madrasa that we know of or any mosque that we know of. You better not be teaching, and that's it. Leave it at that. Leave it at that. Now, I know the sensible among you know what this is about. But let me tell you something. I have been hearing stories like this forever in my community. And the Bangali community is such a pathetic community when it comes to problems. Things like this, it's like everything is flipped. Every time there's a victim, the victim does not get any kind of help. Every time there's a situation where there is corruption or there is somebody doing something wrong, stealing money, when you catch them or when you find out about the problem, you think, well, people might actually tell these guys, the guys who've been stealing or guys who have committed a crime, that they should be the people who should feel guilty and they should be told not to do certain things, yeah? But people always want to hide these things. Yes, there has been a few stories here and there about this sort of thing, but when it comes to something like this, the Bengali community stinks. You suck, you fuckwits. This guy, who knows what he's done last year? Who knows whether somebody else has caught this guy last year? Who knows what he will do next year? Who knows if this guy is doing something to his own kids? And you've got this parent and you've got this muazzin in the mosque who had the responsibility to make sure that people actually do things in an appropriate way. You have to have procedures. You have to check up on these things. Yes, this mosque has been around for many years apparently, and children have been going to the mosque and studying there for years. What did he do to make sure that kids actually don't get into that situation? Are you telling me you don't know that these things happen just because this guy has a beard and he's got a cap on and these things don't happen? Anyway, I just thought I'll let you know, because I told my friend what you did is not right. He said he's going to try and look into it a bit more. I told him, look, you just got to go to the police and tell people, because this guy needs to be on the register. Unless he's on the register, nobody can track him, because he can go to another mosque in another place. If he finds his life is not very well around here, he might actually travel a few miles to go somewhere else. Because this guy, what else is he going to do? Obviously, he's teaching in the mosque because this is one of his sources of income. You think about it.